Yo, the new studio is coming along. It's office slash studio, but I told y'all I was gonna be changing this thing up so it could be a little bit more appealing, and that's exactly what I'm doing. So y'all gonna see more of that to come. But I love this new desk. It goes up and down. Just in the coming weeks, you'll see more and more of the studio changing as we go along. And I shot that on my gimbal, which is what today's episode is all about. You ready to talk about it? Let's get it. That's right. I'm talking about a gimbal, and in particular, I'm talking about the one right here behind me. But I do want to kind of give an overview as to what a gimbal is for and why you might need a gimbal. Gimbals are good for smooth, silky shots when you don't want that jitter and the jump and you want to kind of get some action shots. That's exactly what a gimbal is for. So if you see any movies or any cinematography or any kind of like very smooth shot, most likely they had a gimbal that does it. Gimbals just add that extra little oomph to the video. There's a ton of different gimbals out there to get, so you can kind of choose whichever gimbal that you like, whatever fits your needs, whatever fits your styles. Me personally, I just love the DJI RS3. DJI makes a ton of different gimbals. Their latest iteration is the DJI RS3 model, which comes in a Pro, the standard, and a mini size to kind of fit anybody's needs. There's a couple different things that I like in particular about the DJI RS3. First and foremost, the auto balancing and auto lock feature is absolutely a game changer when it comes to gimbals. If you've ever used the gimbal, you know that balancing the camera or whatever equipment that you have on there is probably the worst part of having a gimbal. It is a nightmare. It's just a nightmare. But with the DJI RS3 line, they automatically lock and unlock and put it back in place. And what I mean by that is you do have to initially balance it, which still sucks. However, once you balance whatever equipment that you are using, you can go and lock and it goes into position by itself. Also, if you unlock it, it'll go back into the same balanced position as long as you don't change anything. So, absolute game changer. That right there was the main reason why I wanted this gimbal. I had an old DJI gimbal before. Wasn't there one of their better ones, but that thing was a pain in the butt to handle. And the second thing that I like about this gimbal in particular is the fact that it has the touch screen on the gimbal itself. And it's a larger screen so that you can kind of do all the different functionalities, connect to Bluetooth, calibrate it, change the different custom settings. All that is right there on the gimbal. Before, you had to use the app. And the app worked just fine, but it's just another piece of equipment that you have and you have to rely on. You know what I mean? Like, so for me, having that right there on the gimbal, absolutely just a convenience. And then lastly, I just like the functionality of the DJI line. I mean, like DJI, they from the drones to the gimbals to, all the different transmitters and stuff like that. They just have the accessories and things like that that just make it work. Also, small rig, third party, they make a bunch of different accessories for it, which just enhances the usability and the experience that you have with this gimbal. I'll talk more about it in a second. So just a few things you should know about using a gimbal. This is a learned process. You just don't pick up a gimbal and start gimbaling. You just don't start doing that. Like, you have to take your time, you have patience, and get to know the equipment because it could be kind of challenging if you've never used it before. Heck, even if you have used the gimbal before, it can still be a little bit of a challenge. So take the time to learn the product. There's a bunch of different moves and angles that get you varying results depending on how you use the gimbal and kind of what motion that you go through. I just want to stress that, when you pick up a gimbal, you probably won't be a pro right off the start if this is your first time. So don't be hard on yourself. Honestly, just take the time, learn it, and you will get better because it's such a fun device anyway. You just gonna want to learn it. I took mine out for a real world experience, and I took my new DJI RS3 out for a real world experience on my podcast, which you should subscribe to. I had a bit of a learning curve, you know what I mean? Like, I watched some videos, I saw some different techniques and things like that, and it is not as easy as some of these pros make it seem, or experienced people make it seem. I have a bit of a hang of it now, but some of those moves are tricky to do, and there's a bunch of different techniques. I might do another video later on once I get a little bit better so that I can show you all how to do some of these different things. For now, I'm a rookie, so.
If you're watching the behind the scenes shot, this is how Dario got that circular shot. That thing is heavy, I guarantee you.
Hell. Woo!
Heavy as hell.
Look at this. Look at this.
Look at that.
Lord have mercy.
Lord have mercy.
Let's go sit down. Shit, this is
Let's go
tough.
sit down.
There's 3 different modes that come with this gimbal, and most gimbals that they use. The first is pan, tilt, follow. And pan, tilt, follow allows you to kind of move the head or the camera up, down, left, right, and then it follows you a little bit. So like kind of the motion of your wrists as you turn the gimbal, it'll follow that motion. The second is pan, follow. Pan, follow just removes the tilt part so it doesn't go up and down. It kind of goes left or right, and then the follow mode is still there. So if you twist your wrist, you still get that bit of a follow. So kind of gives you, you know, a bit of a first person view, which is the last mode, FPV, first person view, which gives you that, if you think about like the first person, you put some VR goggles on when you look left, right, up, down. That's what the gimbal mimics when you move your body and your motion. So FPV, that is a really fun mode. Within that mode, there are a few other modes. So there's 3D roll, which is a very fun feature. It tilts the gimbal forward, and you can move the head of the gimbal in a barrel motion, which is really cool. Gives you some really dope effects. There's landscape mode, so that you can shoot vertical video for social media or for whatever kind of content that you're creating, but it's a vertical video. Thing with this one, from what I learned, and I don't know, again, there's adapters that you have to get it where you can hold the gimbal straight up and still get that vertical kind of fix. This one does it where you kind of have to hold the gimbal straight out. A little bit more difficult. The DJI RS3 Mini actually allows you to kind of go into that landscape mode without even having to switch the gimbal forward. Again, I'll get to that in a second because I got solutions for it. And then lastly, within that FPV mode is a customization mode. So you can kind of customize the FPV mode to whatever you want. So if you like to shut off the pan, tilt, or follow, or turn on just the follow, or turn off, you can kind of customize it to whatever your shooting style or whatever kind of effect you're going for in your video. Lastly, there's a ton of different accessories that you can purchase and kind of make the experience better. I'll go over a couple of them. But first, if you wanted those accessories in like a bundle, they come in the RS3 combo or the RS3 Pro combo that kind of adds these accessories on. I have the RS3, I got the basic one, and I added accessories on to it. The first accessory is the Raven's Eye, which honestly is one of the dopest things about this gimbal, aside from the locking and the auto gimbal thing. The Raven Eye is what I use to do the, you know, the tilted thing where it looked like it was real life. So Raven's Eye kind of takes over as the video feed of your camera. It locks on through like an intra-web type of thing. So it doesn't use Bluetooth. It goes right through a little device that looks like a network adapter. And this takes over the view. And what it allows you to do is another really cool feature, which is called Active Track. It allows you to draw a box around whatever subject that you want to follow, and the camera locks onto it through that Raven's Eye. So you can kind of move your gimbal in one position and the gimbal will automatically follow without you having to press any buttons. It is so incredibly dope and so convenient. It's one of those things that just adds another layer of creativity to whatever content that you might be trying to create. The second thing I want to talk about is the follow focus. And the follow focus allows you to use a little knob that's right on the front of the gimbal and allows you to focus when you're in manual mode. Now this comes in handy when you're moving around and you want to create different shots yet again, but now you don't have to worry about turning the ring and shaking a video. You can just use it right here on the front of the gimbal. Gives you that cool, smooth, again, animation. Allows you to really create whatever you want to do. So if you want the foreground to blur out and keep the background, or vice versa, you can do that with that. It's definitely a piece I'd recommend picking up if you don't have one. And then the last piece that I definitely recommend, is the arm that goes onto it. So now I told you that I would give you a little trick and tip how to get the landscape mode. This arm allows you to kind of move the gimbal in a different way so that you don't stress your back, stress your arms, and do things that feel unnatural. The arm allows you to kind of hold it in a briefcase mode, get those low shots, bunch of different things you can do with that. When you're doing a 360 roll, you're not stretching your arms and holding out like that. You can kind of relax a little bit. Even when you're shooting upright and you're shooting somebody, you can move around. It helps you get those gimbal moves a lot smoother, a lot easier, less stress on you, less stress on the device itself. It's really dope. And then the last thing that I recommend picking up for the DJI gimbal, or any gimbal, is a bigger battery. This thing lasts a decent amount of time with the battery that it comes with, but get a bigger battery. I have the BG30 battery. The BG30 battery definitely gives me a lot longer shoot. My battery died out on me. I had a I had a surprise proposal at Navy Pier, and right when I got my last shot, the gimbal just collapsed because the battery died out. Not collapsed, like broke. It automatically folded down when it knew it wasn't enough battery. But I was like, oh my God. I was so like fortunate that I got every shot that I needed before it died out. Immediately after that, I went and grabbed the BG3 battery, and it works out perfectly. With all that being said, if you know you're going to add accessories on, a lot of these things come with either the RS3 bundle or the RS3 Pro bundle. Get those. Save yourself a little bit of money. I pieced mine together, which isn't a bad thing. Comes out roughly the same amount. However, I have the RS3. I could have gotten the RS3 Pro for roughly the same price I paid for all the accessories I added, and I would have gotten a larger weight capacity that the gimbal can hold. Right now, I can hold 6.6 pounds. The RS3 Pro can hold 10 pounds. So makes a big difference if you're working with a bigger rig or a bigger camera system. Those 4 pounds definitely come in key for you. Mine, for my setup, I'm fine with it, but I guess for the price, I probably should have just gotten the RS3 Pro. A little bit more space for the gimbal to move. Whatever. You live and you learn, don't you? That's it for today. I'll probably do more on this gimbal because there is so much more that I want to show you that the gimbal can do to kind of like sway your opinion a little bit. But there's a bunch of things that I want to show you and some techniques that I learned as I go also. So be on the lookout for more of that kind of content. Also, I have a video that I did. I told you about the wedding proposal. I have that. Use the link right here. Go check out that video. It's shot 100% with that gimbal. I think you'll like it. And finally, some good vibes. If nobody told you, I'm gonna tell you. I hope that your year is going off really strong right now. I hope what you got going on exceeds your limits and your possibilities and thought process. Much love to you. Continue thriving. The weather's getting nice. Stay cool out there, y'all. Peace.